Fraser-Loria. The change of command ceremony is a time-honored military tradition, formally restating the continuity of authority of command. It is a formal ritual conducted before the assembled company of the command, as well as honored guests and dignitaries. The change of command is a time-honored transfer, or is a transfer of total responsibility, authority, and accountability from one individual to another. Then following the change of command, the men and women of the United States Transportation Command will pay special tribute to Captain Henry Stephenson on the occasion of his retirement from the United States Navy after 25 years of dedicated service to our country. The presiding officer for today's ceremony is the Deputy Commander, United States Transportation Command, Vice Admiral Dee Mewbourne. At this time, we would like to recognize our distinguished guests, Captain Stephenson's wife, Jenny, their children, Benjamin, John, Julia, and Joseph, his mother, Sally, his mother-in-law, Jelly, his brother and sister-in-law, Adam and Holly, and their children, his sister and brother-in-law, Amelia and Danny, and his sister-in-law, Maggie, Captain Fraser-Loria's children, Maddie and Nate, and her mother, Rosemary, her sister, Carrie, and her brother-in-law, Matt. We'd also like to welcome the Commander, United States Transportation Command, General Stephen Lyons, and his wife, Maureen, who are attending virtually, and the Chief of Staff, United States Transportation Command, Major General Deb Katulich. Thank you, ma'am. Finally, we welcome all general officers, flag officers, senior executive service personnel, directors, senior enlisted leaders, co-workers, friends, and family joining us both in person and online today. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the playing of ruffles and flourishes, posting of the colors, the national anthem, and the invocation. Side boys, post. Captain, United States Navy, arriving. Joint Intelligence Operations Center, Transportation Command, arriving. Deputy Transportation, arriving. Color guard, post the colors.
Forward, up, left, 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 right, left, 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 right, left, mark time. Preside. On.
Post the side, boys. At ease. Command Chaplain Mark Sedgwick will now provide the invocation.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, Almighty and everlasting God, we give you all thanks and praise for the opportunity to participate in this time-honored military ceremony when the mantle of authority passes from one senior Navy leader to another. Lord God, you have truly blessed the military personnel, DoD civilians and contractors of the U.S. TRANSCOM Joint Intelligence Operations Center Transportation with the inspired leadership of Captain Henry Stephenson, who has steadfastly pursued and established an overarching commitment to excellence while directing and executing all-source, multidisciplinary intelligence operations and support for all U.S. TRANSCOM missions. He has truly inspired his military personnel, DoD civilians and contractors, by daily demonstrating pride, professionalism, and an unswerving devotion to serve the warfighter at the other end of the line of communication. Captain Stephenson's servant leadership has equipped the trusted professionals of the U.S. TRANSCOM Joint Intelligence Operations Center to proudly embrace their identity as intelligence warfighters. The strength of our nation flows from our armed forces. The strength of our armed forces flows from our military members, and the strength of our military members flows from our families. We know that Captain Stephenson's wife Jenny, children Benjamin, John, Julia, and Joseph have all played significant roles in sustaining him during this and indeed every other assignment in his distinguished Navy career. Captain Stephenson's mom, Sally, mother-in-law Jelly, sister-in-law Maggie, and brother and sister-in-law Adam and Holly have also served as sources of resilience and encouragement for your servant Henry. Today also marks Captain Stephenson's retirement from the U.S. Navy. We give thanks to you, Almighty God, that you have employed him as your instrument to coach, teach, and mentor many sailors throughout his career. Indeed, Captain Stephenson's impact and influence upon our Navy will endure for many years to come. We pray that you would grant him fair winds and following seas and a blessed and peaceful retirement. We also humbly pray that you would anoint Captain Fraser-Loria as she assumes command of the U.S. TRANSCOM Joint Intelligence Operations Center this afternoon. Heavenly Father, we know that you have accompanied Captain Fraser-Loria during her journey of faith as a Navy leader throughout her career, and that you have granted her the wisdom, extraordinary skills, and requisite experience to embrace this new leadership challenge. Captain Fraser-Loria has been supported and sustained by her son Nate, daughter Maddie, mother Rosemary, sister Carrie, and brother-in-law Matt. We humbly pray that you empower her by your Holy Spirit to continue to build upon the foundation that Captain Stephenson has so capably constructed. And we pray all of these things in your most holy name. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Sedgwick. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Admiral Mewbourne, the floor is yours.
Sorry, I'm going to have to wear my glasses. I keep asking my aide to increase the font size. He's up to where it just says E on the page, right? So I think now I just have to go with the glasses. In June of 1942, U.S. forces were still reeling from the devastating attack on Pearl Harbor. As you may recall, it took 4 months before the United States responded with a historic Doolittle raid. And while this daring attack received wild acclaim back home, it was by no means a turning point. And the Battle of the Coral Sea a month later was considered a tactical defeat for U.S. forces. What you may not have known was that the cryptographers in the naval intelligence community are credited with providing the timely, the relevant, the actionable information that was required to turn the tide in the Pacific. Admiral Nimitz, he knew that that the Japanese forces were intentionally probing for weaknesses, and he knew that their utilization of coded messages might give an opportunity to seize the initiative. His best hope lay in the power of naval intelligence. For months, code breakers worked to determine what two-letter identifiers for the Japanese had assigned to U.S. bases. Installation AF had come under heavy scrutiny with a large amount of Japanese message traffic referring to it. By transmitting an uncoded radio message stating Midway's water purification had broken down, and by subsequently picking up Japanese transmissions stating AF short on water, naval intelligence gave Admiral Nimitz the date and location of a planned attack. Nimitz quickly massed forces to lay a trap for the Japanese combined fleet that had grown larger and emboldened since their success at Pearl Harbor. The ensuing Battle of Midway from 4 to 7 June of 1942 was the most decisive in the history of naval warfare and the turning point for the conflict with Japan. Good afternoon and welcome. General Lyons, I hope that you and Maureen have a chance to dial into this, and thank you for your time. Kelly Ashbach, I appreciate you being on the net, I believe, and along with Mike Studeman, an old shipmate and mentors, flag and general officers, members of the SES community, and of course, TRANSCOM teammates. Thank you for taking time out of your busy lives to join us in witnessing two accomplished naval officers publicly and ceremoniously turning over leadership of this consequential command. Your presence today adds great warmth and dimension to this ceremony so steeped in naval tradition. I'd also like to warmly welcome the family members and close friends of Captain Henry Stephenson and Captain Jamie Fraser-Loria. A lot of those family members are here with us, but I think probably a lot more are watching virtually. First of all, Jenny, Henry's wife, prior intelligence officer, and they met when she was passing through, as I understand, Bahrain, en route to the Big E, right? A ship that one of the ships I commanded and still holds a great place in my heart. And then, as it turns out, the way he tells the story, you weren't that interested, right? And so he had to pursue you, as it turns out, into Hawaii, and still, hasn't sealed the deal yet. And on into Colorado, he has to go, ending up at NORAD, before you finally acquiesced to marrying him on the 27th of July in 2001. So you just celebrated your 19th anniversary, so congratulations. Son Ben, who I got a chance to meet, 16, just got his driver's license, and a girlfriend. I don't know the order, but we'll say that was good. And I understand you're in the marching band, and the connection here is Henry also is musically inclined, if you can call it that. No, he said he played the guitar in a band that wasn't that good at the Naval Academy. Some things haven't changed between when I went there and you went there. But he said, I love this quote, he says, I learned to have an unfounded self-confidence in front of people. So anyway, he said that was a useful skill for a naval intelligence or a naval officer, so very good. Son John, who runs cross country, has a home-built computer, I understand, or something like that is what your dad told me. And I just had, again, the connection here is Henry struck me when he said that he developed a software program. He wrote iOS program, for your iPhone. I don't know where to begin. I can't even spell iOS very well. And but it was a program an application for soccer coaches that they can use how to, that gives them a lineup so that they can win the game. I would think, it's probably can't keep it on the shelf in the App Store. Daughter Julia, who's an artist, right? I understand you got a birthday coming up in 12 days. Congratulations, Relly. There's probably no resemblance here. I haven't seen a thing artistic from you yet, but so that must be all from Jenny. And then son Joe, who also an artist, I understand, and likes to draw the Titanic. And the only thing I could get out of that context was, that's what, when you're last of four, that's what you think about. I don't know, but anyway. Sally, it's nice to meet you today. It was great. Thanks for coming all the way from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. We'll remember John, of course, today. And Jelly, it was really nice to meet you. Jenny's mom, all the way from Milwaukee, and I understand there's a Milwaukee or a Wisconsin contingent. The way I understand a lot of Milwaukee, Maggie, Jenny's sister, Holly, who is also Jenny's sister, and her husband Adam. And then there's some folks from Henry's family that's not attending. I know his sister, her husband, his sister Amelia, and her husband Danny, and their kids, and then a lot of other extended friends and family. From Jamie's side, I know that no one got to be here today, Jamie, and I'm sorry about that, but I really am hopeful that they'll be dialed in. So we definitely want to remember your mom, Rosemary. I look forward to meeting her one day, your sister Carrie, her husband Matt, and of course, your daughter Maddie and your son Nate. So please, you can, hopefully, if they're not watching, you can fill them in, and I hope they'll get a chance to, I don't know if are we recording this? I hope we do, but that they'll have a chance to look back and see it. It was kind of said, I think, in Chap's remarks, which were very good, by the way. You took most of my speech. I could probably stop right now and we'd eat cake and that'd be that. But you said that, they say that you recruit a sailor and you retain a family. And after 38 years of active service, I know that to be true. I would not be standing here today but for the love and support of my wife, Carrie, of our 3 children and our 5 grandchildren. Please join me, if you would, in publicly thanking Henry's and also Jamie's families and the families and friends throughout the Joint Force whose steadfast support makes possible the service of all who wear the uniform. You may be wondering kind of why we gather for celebrations like this, and I think it's really for 3 important reasons. One, at least in my services culture, it's to acknowledge the sanctity of command is number 1. 2 is to uphold Navy regulations which require this kind of assembly, and 3 is to recognize the achievements of a great leader and his or her team. So to understand the true significance, though, of today's ceremony, one must first comprehend the totality of command, at least in the Navy's culture. Command is the single most important element of our naval organization, and it's the ultimate vote of confidence. The Navy selects only the best of the fully qualified officers to assume command because its success is totally dependent upon the quality of those who have been entrusted with the inherent responsibility, authority, and accountability. And for those of you who may be witnessing a Navy change of command for the first time, let me begin with just a little bit of perspective. Today's time-honored ceremony is based primarily upon the customs and the traditions of our maritime heritage, our military profession, and the British Navy. It is a custom uniquely naval, without equivalent in any other military branch. Remarkably, very little has been written on the subject. The first mention of change of command ceremony and Navy regulations occurred during the Civil War, and there's been little change in the procedures since. The current edition of Navy regulations requires the outgoing CO, and I'll quote here, to call all hands to muster, read the order of detachment and turn over command to his or her relief, who will read their orders and assume command. And that's it. That's what Navy regs require. But truly, the heart of the ceremony replicates a simple procedure that is conducted hundreds of times daily within the Navy as the duties are passed from one officer or enlisted watchstander to another. The seamless transference of total accountability, responsibility, and authority occurs when the relieving officer announces, "I relieve you," and the incumbent responds, "I stand relieved." Now, I give you all that because you're going to see that today, right? And that's the moment to have your cameras ready, right? By design, Henry's position wears 3 hats. Number 1, he's the commander of the Joint Intelligence Operations Center. You'll hear me say the word JIOC, if that's a word. It is today. And so we'll hear that. The commander of the Navy element and also the director of intelligence. You'll sometimes hear that called the J2. We love our acronyms. And I would tell you that for 24 months, he has worn all 3 hats exceedingly well. Henry arrived in 2018 and immediately hit the deck running. That's like the floor for us Navy guys. And given the emerging environment that was informed by the new National Defense Strategy, Henry changed the focus of the JIOC to near-peer adversaries and great power competition. He re-engineered his team to provide the command with germane threat-based assessments, reflecting the emerging ability of adversaries to hold global mobility at risk. In a nutshell, Henry ensured that his team operated how they were needed, when they were needed, and where they were needed. At the beginning of 2020, the United States teetered on the brink of regional crisis with Iran. You may remember. Under Henry's leadership, intelligence professionals provided real-time information that was filtered for U.S. TRANSCOM, ensuring that decision makers always had the best threat assessment the intelligence community had to offer. Early on in the coronavirus pandemic, Henry preserved mission readiness by obtaining secure office spaces to conduct intelligence operations. His leadership ensured the JIOC personnel continued working safely and effectively. You know, even when recounting all of these accomplishments, Henry never takes one bit of credit. I've personally extended untold plaudits to Henry over the last year for the superior work that was accomplished by the JIOC and his J2 staff. In every case, Henry responds, well, it's a team effort, or I've got a great team down there. If you ask Henry then what he's most proud of during his tenure, it's clear to me that he's most proud of this fantastic team. Henry, on behalf of TRANSCOM and a grateful nation, I stand before this assembly to extol the outstanding performance of the JIOC and to congratulate you on a job exceedingly well done. You know, Jamie, I would tell you that the greatest strength of the Navy is the incredible pool of talent that we attract. And we bear witness to that fact today. Just as we say goodbye to one outstanding leader, we welcome in another. Jamie grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. Now I mention that because I happen to be born in Atlanta, Georgia. Were you born in Georgia Baptist Hospital by any chance? Okay, well anyway, it may be long gone by now, right? Probably a relic. But anyway, that's where I was born. You went to Wake Forest, so go the Deacons, right? Yeah. And you commissioned through OCS in Pensacola in 1996. She completed her master's degree at Navy Postgraduate School and a CNO fellowship at the U.S. Naval War College. But I would tell you most of all, Jamie, you arrived at a critical time. All the steps of the ladder prepared you, though, for this moment. U.S. TRANSCOM is changing. We're getting better. We're turning the ship. And your team serves as our eyes and our ears, always standing watch. The world is evolving around us, and we must adapt to maintain relevance. But I challenge you to go a step further, and don't just keep pace. Exercise your team to stay ahead of the changing environment, because falling behind is just not an option. In your new role, you will be backed by an awesome support structure. Your personal experiences and formal education will provide a solid foundation for ethical decisions to blend with your instincts and your sense of morality. Your TRANSCOM teammates will encourage and support you, and your family will keep you grounded. In summary, you have everything you need to successfully command TRANSCOM's JIOC, and you have the full trust and confidence of General Lyons and me. You are ready. Jamie, on behalf of the entire team, I welcome you and your family to TRANSCOM, and I look forward to working with you. Together, we deliver. Thank you.
Thank you, Admiral Mewbourne. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our Joint Intelligence Operations Center Commander, Captain Henry Stephenson.
Thanks, Jerry. Admiral, thank you for those kind words and for your leadership here at U.S. Transportation Command and for your involvement and mentorship with this ceremony today. I greatly appreciate the time and attention you're giving us, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you all for being here, whether in person or via the streaming video. Needless to say, this isn't the change of command event that any of us imagined a few months ago, but the fact that we're executing it nonetheless is a testament to the flexibility and resiliency of U.S. TRANSCOM and all the people who helped put this event together. Thanks to protocol, especially Liz Zolik and Lieutenant Oliver for their diligent work on the ceremony, as well as for all the other participants here helping us. I'd also like to thank the band, which is important. In military culture, if you tell someone that you didn't have a band at your change of command, it carries a distinctly negative connotation on the circumstances of your departure. So I am very glad to be able to say that you were here today. I suspect that most Navy personnel who are told they're going to Scott Air Force Base have the same immediate reaction I did. You put the detailer on speakerphone, you set it down, you type up, you bring up Google Maps, and you type in Scott Air Force Base, and you see what you get. Somewhere in the Midwest, right? Oh, there it is. It's 700 miles away from the nearest Navy ship. I'll take it. I did take it, and it's been a blessing for many reasons. The first is the amazing team of intelligence professionals that I inherited here. In Dalton Jones, the Deputy J2, I had a fellow post-military 06 who had made himself a sort of founding father in biometrics while he commanded the Army's National Ground Intelligence Center, and who empowered TRANSCOM J2 through his adept interactions with DIA seniors especially. Dalton, thank you for your mentorship and for your support. Perhaps the finest and most consequential decision I made as J2 was to choose Chief Master Sergeant Jason Rather as our senior enlisted leader. Chief, I want to thank you for being an incredibly solid leader and counselor. I was also very fortunate to inherit a cadre of seasoned division chiefs. Rob Craddock, Paul Schaefer, Jeff Paxson, Tony Kern, Wes Rodhammel, Kevin Kinney, plus my Air Force 06 wingmen, John Leslie, and Terry Knopfsinger here now, whose experience and expertise was invaluable. They all lead teams of incredibly competent military and civilian DIA professionals, the men and women who day by day make JIAC TRANSCOM a reality. Finally, I greatly appreciated the camaraderie of our national agency representatives. Barry Bozeman for NSA and ODNI, Harold for DIA as the acting senior rep, Tim Bramstedt, and before him, Kathy Weaver at NGA. Kathy's been a great friend and mentor. Kathy, I'm glad you're here today. Matt Lee, and before him, Liz Arthur, and Tim Feeney from FBI, as well as all of their deputies and their staffs. It was a privilege to be a part of this cluster of professionals who managed vital embedded support to us from their agencies and made sure TRANSCOM had access to the best expertise and products that the intelligence community had to offer. I've also been blessed to work with an incredible team of senior leaders here at TRANSCOM. General Lyons, if you're watching this, thank you for your leadership and clear vision of the U.S. TRANSCOM mission, which was crucial for focusing our efforts in the J2. From Vice Admiral Mewbourne to all the J directors, Chief France and the other outstanding senior enlisted leaders, and other principals on the staff who animate this headquarters, your professionalism has been inspirational to me. I'd especially like to thank our Chief of Staff, Major General Deb Katulich, for her decisive leadership and sage advice during these crazy times. Ma'am, as a successful leader in the Army and in the corporate sector, I greatly appreciated your insights on my transition, and it was a genuine pleasure to work with you. And again, I'm glad you're here as well. I can't step away from the podium without recognizing my front office staff, my executive assistants, Quentin McCart, Bill Zink, and Jeremy Oliver, Yvonne Bellamy, Dave Osborne, Master Sergeant Branch, and the DSS team, all of whom keep the wheels of TRANSCOM J2 turning, and without whom, frankly, I would be aimlessly wandering the headquarters, not knowing where to be, who to talk to, or what to sign. I owe thanks also to my Navy element team, Commander Pete Bissonette, and his Navy admin crew in the J1, Chief Franklin, and the other officers and sailors who have stepped up. I know what all these people are thinking right now. How is this guy going to possibly survive without us? Actually, I've been wondering the same thing, and I don't yet have a good answer. We'll see. My exec and I, by the way, we share a hobby. It's woodworking. He's actually good at it, and I've learned a lot from our conversations. The alluring thing about woodworking, I think, is the imposition of a precise geometry on a natural, chaotic material, which always produces a lot of sawdust and occasionally produces something beautiful. I'm not sure my calendar or our staff work in the office were beautiful, but the imposition of order on chaos was certainly something that you did for me on a daily basis. So Jeremy, please accept this as this simple tool here as a symbol of my thanks for keeping things square for me as my exec. There you go.
Sir.
Good.
Pleasure.
Thanks, appreciate it, Jimmy. Thanks a lot. Yeah,
Pleasure.
good. It's a real honor to be relieved by Jamie Fraser-Loria. We've known each other since our first seagoing assignments in 1999. I was on the Air Wing staff, and she was with the E-2 Squadron. I spent most of my time in obscurity, in Civic, hacking out a Microsoft Access database for air crew debriefs, while Jamie was the star celebrity of Air Wing intelligence. She was broadcasting live televised event briefs to hundreds of fawning naval aviator fans, and she always nailed it. Jamie's energy is infinite, and she has a genuine warmth when she interacts with people. In other words, I think folks in J2 are going to notice a big change. I have no doubt that Jamie's going to lead TRANSCOM J2 to levels of competence, achievement, and innovation that I can scarcely imagine. So to JOC TRANSCOM, you have an important mission, and it's getting more important by the day as the world becomes more complex and dynamic, and increasingly capable adversaries can impact our military's global mobility with a broadening range of instruments. Good luck with that. Seriously, I'm really confident that you'll succeed. It's been an honor to have served as your J2. I thank you for your commitment to the mission, your flexibility in these challenging times, and your patience with me as I grew into the role. I wish you, continued success, and I hope to work with you all again soon. Thank you. I will now read my orders. From Commander, Navy Personnel Command to Captain Henry Stephenson, USN. Subject, Official Retirement Orders, number 1070. When directed by reporting senior, detached from duty as Commander, Joint Intelligence Operations Center, Transportation, Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, and proceed to home of selection. Captain Jamie Fraser-Loria, I'm ready to be relieved.
Captain Stephenson, I'm ready to relieve you. I will now read my orders from Commander, Navy Personnel Command to Captain Jamie Fraser-Loria, U.S. Navy. Subject, Official Change of Duty Orders number 0270. When directed by reporting senior, detach from duty at U.S. 4th Fleet, Florida, and report to Joint Intelligence Operations Center, Transportation, Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, as Commander. Captain Henry Stephenson, I relieve you.
Captain Fraser-Loria, I stand relieved. Okay. Admiral Mewbourne, I've been properly relieved as Commander by Captain Fraser-Loria.
Very well. Congratulations.
Admiral Mewbourne, I have properly relieved Captain Stephenson as Commander.
Yeah, very well. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Admiral.
Ladies and gentlemen,
1, 2,
it is
3,
now my honor to introduce our new
Will you
Joint
come behind?
Intelligence Operations Center Commander, Captain Jamie Fraser-Loria.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for participating in today's ceremony. Chaplain, thank you for the wonderful blessing over Henry and myself. I'm very, very grateful for that. And Admiral, thank you for framing the way ahead. That's very helpful, sir. The most important thing that I can do today is to be brief. And as my former boss reminded me last night, it ain't about you, Jamie. Today's about Henry, Captain Stephenson, and his family, and a legacy of leadership in our J2 that I've seen in the 2 short weeks I've been here, and his and Jenny's more than 25 years of service to the Navy and the nation. Well, I was going to say it may surprise some of you to know that this is not the first time that Captain Stephenson and I have served together, but you do know that already. It's actually the 3rd time. A lifetime ago, as previously mentioned, he was Lieutenant J.G. Stephenson, if you can even imagine it, and I was Ensign Fraser, and we were junior officers in Carrier Air Wing 11 on board the USS Carl Vinson. While one of us was dreaming of port calls in Hong Kong and Singapore and all the amazing shopping opportunities there, the other one was writing a computer program that revolutionized the way we debrief air crews. You stole my thunder. You told him that already. I was going to say, guess which of us was which in that. I'm sure y'all would have figured that one out. A few years later, we were again in Monterey at Navy Postgraduate School. And like many of our fellow junior officers, I was heads down, nose to grindstone, finishing coursework and JPME 1 and writing a thesis. Captain Stephenson did all of the same things and yet somehow managed to find time, free time, to write a book on poker. It's for real. Jeremy looked it up today, so you can find it on the internet. So here we are 20 years later, older and wiser, I trust. Certainly older, I can see it. Henry, you were exceptional then, and you are exceptional now. And it was an honor to serve with you and learn from you then, just as it is now. I would be remiss today if I didn't step through some of the thankfulness that's on my heart as I take command. First, to the Lord, thank you for bringing this day to pass and providing me this precious opportunity for loving me and making me free. General Lyons and Admiral Mewbourne, thank you for being willing to have me, for accepting my nomination, and for the very, very warm welcome that you, General Kutulich, and the whole staff has provided me and extended me. Admiral Ashback, Admiral Studeman, Admiral Gabrielson, thank you for the mentorship and investment in me these many, many years, for the investment in advance of this job, Admiral Studeman, and for offering me the opportunity to lead at this level. To my 4th Fleet family, many of whom are on today, you all are a testament to the saying that friends are the family you make for yourself. I'm so grateful for all of you, your strength, your fervent commitment to the best of the Navy, and your example as leaders, and I hope to make you proud in this job. To my dear friends who are watching virtually, Paula, Janine, Jamie, Whitney, Dave, Susie, Ann, Pat, Russ, Teresa, and Taisha, thank you for being a constant source of encouragement and forgiveness in my life. Finally, to my family, Mom, I sure hope you figured out how to make YouTube or Facebook work. I guess we'll find out in the debrief from this, but Mom, I hope you're out there. Care, Matt, Nate, and Maddie, I love you dearly, and I'm so glad you can experience this wonderful naval tradition with me. So I'll go ahead and close out, and I should be under my timeline by doing so. Here are my final thoughts. In the 2 short weeks that I've been part of the Translog enterprise, it has become very apparent to me the significance of the work that we undertake for the nation. I'm blown away by the high caliber of professionalism across the staff, and especially in the Directorate of Intelligence. I'm honored to join your team, and I'm excited about the great work that we're going to do together. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Fraser-Loria. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome you to the United States Transportation Command, and we look forward to serving with you. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the change of command portion of our ceremony. At this time, we will honor Captain Henry Stephenson on the occasion of his retirement from military service. Admiral Mewbourne, the floor is once again yours.
Yeah, thanks. They're paid to clap, but anyway. Thanks again for allowing me to be and to come and to talk on this portion of the ceremony. So now we transition. So if you're looking at your watch, we're about 41 minutes in, which is really very good for a dual ceremony like this. When Henry first asked me, to participate, I said, well, which part? And he said, well, both of them. And so anyway, you get to write 2 speeches. That's what it boils down to. And then the hard part is how do you deconflict, right? So anyway, I hope I did an okay job. You guys can grade my homework, though, at the end of all this. But right now, physically, we're going to adjust the course of this ceremony to steer towards what I would call a bright light on the horizon. It represents the transition of an accomplished naval officer and his family from active service. Mark Twain once said, it's one of my favorite quotes, The two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. Today we gather to celebrate the distinguished Navy career, obviously, of Captain Henry Stephenson. For 25 years, his entire adult life, Henry worked as what I would say born to do, in the selfless service of his nation and the men and women who wear its cloth. It's a distinct honor and privilege for whoever gets asked to speak, and in this case for me. So thank you, Henry, very much. I enjoy getting a chance to speak about someone who I admire and respect so deeply, and whose selfless dedication represents all that is great in this country. In every sailor's career, there are two special days held dear above all others: the day of enlistment that begins their life on the sea, and the day of retirement that marks their final leave ashore. Today is one of those days for Henry, and we gather the crew, so to speak, to reflect and honor 25 years of uniformed service of one of our fellowship mates, one of our friends. After devoting his career to supporting global combat operations, it's fitting, I think, that Henry end his naval voyage right here at U.S. TRANSCOM, 700 miles away from the closest naval ship. Why? Because we're a warfighting command that maintains a distinct comparative advantage for the nation. A command that is biased to action, that is future-focused, that collaborates to win, and that together delivers. Gathering for a retirement ceremony, you can maybe get that I deal with threes. There are three reasons, right, why I think we gather for retirement. One is to reflect on the service of an American patriot. Two is to honor the sacrifice that that service member and their family made in defense of our freedoms. And thirdly, to celebrate the beginning of a new chapter in the lives of the transitioning Navy family. And I'd like to spend with you, if I could, a few minutes on each one of those purposes. So we'll start with a reflection of Henry's service. Henry entered the Naval Academy in 1995, entered the Navy in 1995 after graduating from the U.S. Naval Academy there in Annapolis. So if you can ponder all the changes in the world that have occurred, right, you can start to get just to grasp some of the significance of what 25 years of service really means. So he entered the Academy as a midshipman in 1991. Can any of you remember, 1991, what was going on back then? Who was president? Yeah, George H.W. Bush, right? How about, do you remember what big operation we just recently had? Right, Desert Storm. What was you remember the name of the guy that ruled the oppressing country? Yeah, Saddam Hussein, right? You guys are doing better than some of the other groups, right? Can you remember what People magazine declared the sexiest man alive in 1991? Let's see if you get this one, chaps. No, but close. Patrick Swayze. I mean, it's close. Who won the World Series, 1991? Minnesota Twins. I picked this up just for Henry. The first major online service provider. That was, the source I got it from said CompuServe. They charged how much an hour? $5 an hour. Can you believe that? And here, this is my favorite. I'll give you a hint. The top movie of the year. Hasta la vista, baby. Terminator 2, right? I mean, absolutely. Judgment Day. So you get the idea if you have to think back what 25 years really means. He touched the lives of countless sailors. He bore unimaginable burdens of responsibility, and he endured hardships that few will ever know. Today, having served around the world, Henry's going ashore for the final time, relieved of the watch that he vigilantly stood for so long. When addressing the graduating class of the U.S. Naval Academy in June of 1961, President John F. Kennedy said, "What you have chosen to do for your country by devoting your life to the service of your country is the greatest contribution that any man could make." And today he would say man or woman could make. Henry, you can reflect with great pride and satisfaction in knowing that you made this greatest contribution that he talked about in essentially three distinct categories. The first category is that you furthered the accomplishment of our Navy's demanding mission. As the Intelligence Watch Officer in Com Fifth Fleet back in 96, 98, you're responsible for maintaining the common intelligence picture notifying leadership and fleet units of high-interest activity. You provided indications and warning for all U.S. naval forces in the CENTCOM area of responsibility. And I love the quote from Admiral Fargo. He said to you, "You were our best intelligence officer, unsurpassed tactical and technical knowledge." And most importantly, this is where you met Jenny. As the ISR collection manager in CAG 11, which we talked about from 98 to 2000, you fulfilled all source intelligence requirements for your strike group. You deployed with Carl Vinson's Carrier Strike Group to the Western Pacific, and you supported Operation Southern Watch and Desert Fox. As the N2 on Fibron 8, which is an amphibious squadron, in 08 to 10, you supervised the intelligence support for sea-based humanitarian assistance to the people of Haiti following a major flooding in 08 and an earthquake in 2010. And you deployed with the ARG, the 24th MEU and the ARG to the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. The second category is that you help deter aggression and promote stability for future generations. When you were the N2 on Strike Group 8 staff in August 13 to 16, you deployed to EUCOM and the CENTCOM AORs. You supported over 1,000 strikes against the Islamic State as part of Operation Inherent Resolve. Then you went on to the Iran Division Chief in Central Command, August 10 to 13. You provided time-critical assessments of threats against U.S. coalition forces. And I love the quote here from Brigadier General Barrier. He said, "Your unique capacity to tie current intel to strategy and doctrine, leading directly to powerful, relevant assessments, superb under pressure, and valuable in crisis." And then ending up here afterwards, some years later, in 5th Fleet as an N2, where you led focused collection and analysis against emerging maritime threats. You directed collection operations, exercised tactical control of aerial drones, and Kevin Donovan, who's an old friend, said this about you, that you were his primary deep thinker. And Admiral Aquilino, now the PAC Fleet Commander, said this. He said, "You had profound impact across plans, operations, and readiness." The third category that you impacted is you bolstered the efficacy of the Joint Force. As the intelligence briefer for NORAD Northcom in the 2000 to 03 timeframe, following the 9/11 attacks, you stood up initial capability to track terrorism-related threats to the homeland. And you were handpicked to brief the 4-star combatant commander during one of the most unsettling time in our nation's history. As senior analyst for ISAF in Kabul, Afghanistan, in the 12 timeframe, you led the multinational analytical team to produce the daily intel update. It's distributed all over the place, around the world. Senior editor of a 30-page intelligence summary, and then what General Ashley said, you were a linchpin intelligence leader and a transformative innovator. Most recently, as was mentioned earlier, the director of J2, right? The work there speaks for itself. Lieutenant General Chesty Puller, the most decorated U.S. Marine of all times and the namesake of an MSC ship currently serving in the Arabian Gulf, once said these words. He said, "I've always believed that no officer's life, regardless of rank, is of such great value to his country that he should seek safety in the rear. Officers should be forward with their men at the point of impact." Summarizing the highlight of Henry's career, there's a common theme. He was always at the point of impact, serving in the toughest assignments, sacrificing for the greater good, and making a difference in the world. Henry, in standing your watch with great vigil and perseverance, you earned the respect and the admiration of a grateful nation. You should be justifiably proud of your accomplishments as you take your final absence ashore. As I mentioned, there was 3 purposes, the second of which was to honor the sacrifice of a proud Navy family. I've never really been able to capture in words the sacrifices that a military family makes in answering the call to service, but I'll try to give you a sense through the lens of an extraordinary Navy family. I got this story from a guy named Dick Stratton, and I was a midshipman at the Naval Academy. We had a series of lectures, and one of those times I had Captain Dick Stratton come and talk to the Brigade of Midshipmen. And he told the story of when he was a lieutenant commander, and he was flying a strike mission, and it was his 3rd tour in Vietnam. His third deployment began on the 11th of October of 1966. He was assigned to CAG-19 on Ticonderoga. He was flying the A-4 Skyhawk. On the 5th of January 1967, it was his 22nd combat mission. It was an armed reconnaissance mission over the Thanh Hoa province, and his primary target was the Mai Thatch ferry that ran along the river. He couldn't find the target as he was doing his armed reconnaissance, but he did find the secondary target, which was a set of barges that was 1 mile upriver. So he rolled his A-4 Skyhawk in. He had on board these rockets, forward-firing munitions. And he describes that he rolled in at medium altitude, he targets, he sees the barges, and the rockets they're fun. I mean, I literally, you know, from A6s, there's hardly anything more fun flying, but because wherever you point the things, they go. And so he rolls in, he puts the pipper, the aiming reticle on board on the target. He pulls the trigger, and he's expecting to see all this forward fireworks of rockets go forward of the airplane. He recounted that he imagines, right, in the moment that this is all happening, that these rockets are probably made in some factory in mid-America, where there's probably some, he calls, little old lady whose job it was to put in the little springs inside of the little fins that are supposed to open when the rocket leaves the canister. Because what happened, he said, when he fired, is one of the rockets had one of the pins did not function. The spring, the fin didn't open the way it was supposed to. The rockets collided right in front of his airplane. There was an explosion, and the debris gets ingested down the engine. Not a problem if you had more than one engine, right? But in the A-4 Skyhawk, you have one engine. So he's forced to eject. Then he tells the story in a brilliant way, but he says in that moment, right, where all the lights on the cockpit are illuminated, and the fire lights on, engine oil, all the other things, the bad lights are all on. And he's about to pull the handle to get out of the airplane. Now remember, he's over a place where you just don't want to eject. He has this flashback. And he remembers driving from Lemoore Naval Base, Naval Air Station, which is in sort of central California, and driving over to Alameda, which is San Francisco area, to get on the Ticonderoga to deploy. And that happened in October. Remember, this flight is in January. And he remembers that he's driving through the desert, and he talks about this old station wagon that his wife, whose name's Alice Marie, that they were going through, and they had 3 kids, Patrick, Michael, and Charles. And at the time, Patrick was 5, Michael was 4, Charles was 2, and he remembers driving through the desert without air conditioning and the smell of diapers, right? And if anyone who's got kids, you know that smell. Anyway, he recounts this, right, again, in this flashback he has as he's about to eject the airplane, from the airplane. He remembers getting all the way, his wife driving across, you know, this multi-hour trip to get him to the ship, gets all of his stuff loaded on board, and now she's saying goodbye to him as he's about to make his 3rd combat deployment, by the way, on board the Ticonderoga. And that loving embrace, right, that last farewell, that thing that you just want to hear the loving words from your wife or something like that, she says, "Don't you dare die and leave me with these 3 little bastards." That's what he remembered as he was leaving the airplane. He landed in a rice paddy. He was captured. He went to the 4th Allied POW wing in Hanoi that was under the leadership of, you guessed it, James Stockdale. And Denton, if you don't know the story of Stratton, it was in Life magazine, and it was this April '67 edition where he's doing this bow, like a robotic-looking bow maneuver, and it's kind of called the bowing photo. But it provided evidence of the North Vietnamese torture of POWs for propaganda purposes. And so it somehow, it is relatively popular or, famous with respect to the POW's story. But what I recall most about Dick Stratton's story is not his suffering as a POW, but the love and support of his family that enabled triumph over adversity. He was shot down in January 1967, and he was released in March of 1973. Henry, for 25 years, you faithfully answered your nation's call, but in a similar way, you did not answer the call alone. Enduring the hardships of separation, the pain of loneliness, and the angst of uncertainty was a strong Navy family. So Jenny, Ben, John, Julia, and Joe, thank you for supporting your dad, your husband, our friend Henry, through his Navy career, for tolerating the deployments, the moves, the tireless working hour, the missed events. A career of military service is filled with family sacrifice that few Americans will ever know. But the freedoms that you helped assure are counted by your countrymen as their greatest blessing. No words of praise could be more valuable. The third purpose of these retirement ceremonies is to celebrate the beginning of a new chapter. It's not a wake, right? This is it should be a celebration. But what does the future hold for a man who served with such pride and distinction? Very soon, Henry will begin a new trip along life's greater journey. With him will travel 25 years of priceless memories, extraordinary friendships, and the warm wishes of literally thousands of shipmates like me, who are better people today having known him. Henry, your legacy lives in the lives of those you've touched and the lasting contributions you've made throughout your career. It's been said that we must have courage to bet on our ideas, to take the calculated risk, and to act. Everyday living requires courage if life is to be effective and bring happiness. Now you must focus on a different and exciting horizon and have the courage to seize every future opportunity that befalls you. I urge you to hold fast to the ideals that made you successful thus far as you set forth with resolve to reach the distant horizons of your destiny. So now it's time for audience participation, right? And we don't have the audience here isn't giant, and so we're going to have to really work hard together, right? It's going to be a lot of teamwork to pull this off. But in closing, so I'm going to ask you to join me in celebrating a long-standing but often forgotten naval tradition to recognize the service of Captain Stephenson. In the 19th century, it was customary for the crew to man the yardarms and cheer when distinguished passengers left the ship and for changes of command. At the order to lay aloft, all hands would spring upon the rigging and cluster onto the tops around the topmost cross trees and the top gallant masthead. And the second order was to lay out upon the yards. The men spread each way and supported themselves by the means of lifelines that were fastened to the lifts and masts. Next, when the order to cheer came from the deck, the men took off their hats and waved them during 3 cheers. So I'll give the order, right? And you guys join in. Let's just practice here one. If I go hip hip, you all say what? Hooray. But that's way weak, right? I mean, you really got to let it out. So I don't care. This is like the who and who deal, right? I need to hear it all, right? We all got to let it go. Okay, are you ready? So 3 cheers for Henry. Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray! Very good. Henry and Jenny, Carrie and I joined the entire TRANSCOM team in thanking you for your incredible leadership, wishing your family unparalleled joy and success in all future endeavors. Before you depart, Henry, I would like to more officially recognize your magnificent tenure. If you'd please join me here at the podium.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as Admiral Mewbourne presents the Defense Superior Service Medal to Captain Stephenson and remain standing for the publishing of the retirement order. Attention to orders. Citation to accompany the award of the Defense Superior Service Medal to Captain Henry A. Stephenson. Captain Stephenson, United States Navy, distinguished himself by exceptionally superior service as Director of Intelligence, Commanding Officer, Navy Element, United States Transportation Command, Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, from May 2018 to August 2020. During this period, Captain Stephenson's leadership of the 240 military and civilian personnel in his directorate was instrumental in the provision of intelligence support to a combatant command, conducting mobility operations across a global area of responsibility. Recognizing changes in the strategic environment and implementing commander's guidance to orient the United States Transportation Command as a warfighting command, he assertively shifted his directorate's primary focus from foundational production to threat-based assessments. His conceptual framework for understanding emerging threats to U.S. power projection recalibrated intelligence analysis and production, totaling more than 4,000 products to support the commander's strategy. Leveraging relationships with national agencies, he ensured leadership's access to sensitive reporting that provided critical context during high-risk mobility operations. Finally, he led the command in enhancing his directorate's readiness by standing up an alternate site with full mission capability, which paid dividends in managing risks from the COVID-19 pandemic. The distinctive accomplishments of Captain Stephenson culminate a distinguished career in the service of his country and reflect great credit upon himself, the United States Navy, the United States Transportation Command, and the Department of Defense.
Thank you. Face the camera. Well done. Thank you, sir. Round of applause. That's all.
Please remain standing for the publishing of the retirement order. Attention to orders. Captain Stephenson, your request for voluntary retirement has been approved by the Undersecretary of the Navy with an effective date of 01 November 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At this time, I will read Captain Stephenson's certificate of retirement. The certificate reads, "To all who shall see these presents, greetings. This is to certify that Captain Henry A. Stephenson, having served faithfully and honorably, has retired from the United States Navy on the first day of November 2020. Signed, Dee Mewbourne, Vice Admiral, Deputy Commander, United States Transportation Command." We will now present Captain Stephenson with a certificate from the President of the United States. It reads, "For service in the Armed Forces of the United States of America, Captain Henry A. Stephenson, United States Navy, I extend to you my personal thanks and the sincere appreciation of our grateful nation for your contribution of honorable service to our country. You have helped maintain the security of the nation during a critical time in its history with a devotion to duty and a spirit of sacrifice, in keeping with the proud traditions of the military service. I trust that in the coming years you will maintain an active interest in the armed forces and the purpose for which you've served. Those who follow in your footsteps will draw inspiration from your commitment, dedication, and the sacrifices made to ensure the protection of our American freedoms. My best wishes to you for happiness and success in the future. Signed, Donald J. Trump, Commander-in-Chief."
Congratulations. Thanks, sir. There's a bunch of these. I think there's a few of these. Okay.
Captain Stephenson is also being presented with a letter of appreciation from the United States Transportation Commander. It reads, "Dear Captain Stephenson, on the occasion of your retirement, I wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for an impressive career culminating over 25 years of outstanding service to our Navy and our nation. Although we will miss seeing you in the duty uniform, we take great pride in knowing that your legacy will continue to shape our Navy for generations to come through the many sailors and civilians you've positively impacted throughout your career. For that, we remain eternally grateful. Again, congratulations on your retirement and thanks for an impressive career of Navy service. We wish you all the best in health and happiness as you begin your next chapter. Sincerely, Stephen R. Lyons, General, United States Army." Thank you, Admiral Mewbourne. Captain Stephenson has also received certificates and letters of appreciation from President Barack Obama, Pennsylvania Senator Bob Casey, and Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf. At this time, Commander Pete Morris will present a gift on behalf of the men and women of the Joint Intelligence Center.
Sir, on behalf of Colonel Terry Nossinger, and the 100-odd people who make up your Joint Intelligence Center. I'm very proud to be here to honor you with this decanter. I apologize that it isn't full of anything at the moment. When I tried it earlier, everything spilled out, so I had to give you a box, and it was a mess. And I would also like to give you the traditional Navy envelope. Say thank you for everything.
All right.
Thank you, Commander Boris. At this time, Mr. Dalton Jones and Chief Master Sergeant Jason Rather will present a shadow box, a gift from the men and women of JIAC TRANSCOM.
Sure, first of all, I want to say just thank you for being who you are and to what you've done for the J2 over the years. Sure, I want to thank you for your leadership, professionalism, and passion to transform the J2 into a leading intelligence center that is well recognized throughout the intelligence community. Your persistent demand for timely and quality intelligence was infectious throughout the J2. The shadow box represents 25 years of your dedicated service to a grateful nation. It represents all the men and women that supported you and guided you through the good times and the bad times throughout your career. It is also reflective of the family supporting you. Jenny, thank you. Benjamin, John, Julia, and Joseph. And I know they're proud of you. On behalf of your family, many friends, and the members of the J2, we wish you the presents and present to you a shadow box that represents the culmination in one's military career and a job well done. God bless you and your family. It was a pleasure to have worked for you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones and Chief Rather. Ms. Stephenson, we invite you to join your husband on stage. Every retiree receives a special retirement pin as a memento of his or her active duty service. At this time, we'd like to ask Ms. Stephenson to place this pin on Captain Stephenson's lapel to symbolize his transition from active duty to retired status. This pin stands as a testament of his service to our great nation. To all who see it, know that Captain Henry A. Stephenson has met all challenges set before him and has served our country with pride, honor, and dignity. Admiral Mewbourne, will you please join Captain and Ms. Stephenson? Every successful military member knows and understands the value of the contributions of his or her family to the member's career, especially the efforts of their spouse. Admiral Mewbourne will now present Ms. Stephenson with a certificate of appreciation from the United States Navy. It reads, "To all who shall see these presents, greetings. To Jenny Beth Stephenson, by the authority vested in me, it is my pleasure to express the grateful appreciation of the United States Navy to you for your unselfish, patriotic, and devoted service during your husband's military career. Your unfailing support and understanding helped immeasurably to make possible his lasting contribution to the Navy and the nation. To those who say a single man cannot make a difference, I say wrong. Your husband did. He made our nation stronger and kept our nation safe. With his service to the Navy now complete, he will be able to spend more time with you in the future. The United States Navy thanks you, and I thank you. Given this 14th day of August, 2020, signed D.L. Mewbourne, Vice Admiral, United States Navy, Deputy Commander, United States Transportation Command. Ms. Stephenson is also being presented a letter of appreciation from the United States Transportation Command Commander. It reads, "Dear Mrs. Stephenson, please accept my personal thanks for your dedicated support as a military spouse during Henry's 25 years of service to the United States Navy. Your untiring commitment to caring for the family and your support of Henry's service allowed him to protect our great nation. You can be justifiably proud of your contributions. Best wishes to you and Henry for your health and happiness in the coming years. Sincerely, Stephen R. Lyons, General, United States Army. Admiral Mewbourne will now present letters of appreciation to the Stephenson children. Benjamin, John, Julia, and Joseph, please join us on stage. Dear Benjamin, John, Julia, and Joseph, please accept my sincere appreciation for supporting your father throughout his United States Navy career. We are grateful for Captain Stephenson's dedicated service to our nation. The strength of our nation is our armed forces. The strength of our armed forces is our service members. And the strength of our service members is our military families. I recognize that being the child of a military parent puts added responsibility on a young person. Thank you for your support to our nation's security. My sincere congratulations to you for rising to the challenge. Sincerely, Stephen R. Lyons, General, United States Army. Thank you, Ms. Stephenson, kids, and Admiral Mewbourne. You may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce for the very first time Captain Henry A. Stephenson, United States Navy, retired.
Thanks. Thank you, thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks very much. Admiral Mewbourne, thank you once again. My family and I really appreciate those remarks and your willingness to preside over this ceremony today for us. It's a very important day for us, and we're glad you led it for us. Thank you, sir. I think many of us over the course of a military career, in reflective moments, maybe finding ourselves deployed to an improbable location on the fantail of a ship on a distant sea, or strapped into a dubious mode of military transport, have asked, what bizarre chain of events led me to be here now? As a kid who grew up in rural Pennsylvania with no connection to the Navy, I ask myself that question even today as I retire after 25 years in the service. I don't know the answer, but I have some theories. I remember a patriotic rage I felt when Iran took our diplomats hostage in 1979. I wanted our country to be able to do something about it. I remember looking to the sky as a kid and seeing military aircraft flying overhead. In fact, I think I remember seeing a refueling operation, no kidding. Wondering what that was all about. I remember a book in our county library about the Naval Academy. I remember models of the USS Missouri and USS Nimitz that my dad got. Back then, there were little plastic A4s on the flight deck. There was a tour of Norfolk Naval Base that we went on, and a coffee table book about the history of the U.S. Navy, which at that time stopped at the tanker war in the Persian Gulf. Well, the reasons I ended up in the Navy, those among them, for whatever those reasons were, I'm glad I did. I went to the Naval Academy. My first assignment was at NAVCENT in Bahrain, where I was in charge of a watch team keeping America's eye on Iran. Although 2 decades later, after serving in Bahrain, to lead the entire intelligence directorate there, I wonder if our relations have to be in that condition, if things might get better someday. There's a photo in the program of me on a British destroyer with an Iranian Kilo-class submarine over my shoulder. I don't think too many U.S. Navy intelligence officers have a picture like that. I saw the actual USS Missouri being towed into Pearl Harbor when I was stationed there. I deployed on a real Nimitz-class carrier, actually a couple times. There were no A4s or A7s or even A6s at that time. I barely caught the twilight of the F-14 Tomcat. But the seniors in that battle group earned their wings in the airframes that I played with on that plastic model back in the early 80s. Having read about the Navy's history in that coffee table book as a kid, it was exhilarating as a young adult to be involved in its next chapters and to have a front row seat to some history as it was being made. My fit in the Navy, I think, wasn't just about the service, but also about the field of naval intelligence. On the back of the program, you'll see one of my favorite poems, Neither Out Far Nor In Deep, by Robert Frost. Writing in 1936, Frost captured the curious primal instinct in people to watch the sea. It's the fundamental purpose of naval intelligence, really. A beachgoer can only see a few miles into the vast expanse of the ocean and can see nothing beneath its waves. Yet it's unnatural, it's disconcerting to turn our backs to the sea. We intuitively know how important it is. We have to keep our eyes on it, as futile as that may be. That remains a useful instinct in 2020, although as it turns out, naval intelligence today can see quite out far and in deep. And it's essential that we do so better than our adversaries do, because informational superiority over our challengers is an important piece of deterring them from using force to forcibly seize territory or smother democracies over the seas. This chapter in the history book is going to be written by the next generation, by some of the young military professionals in this room. But as I transition from the military to a civilian career, I hope to remain involved in the intelligence community in some way, an institution whose objectivity and professionalism is a bulwark of reason and stability in unsteady times. Anyway, that's how a kid from Central PA got to retire from the Navy as a captain and as a combatant Command J2. There's one person in the room today that I have to thank most for getting me on that path, my mother, Sally, who not only raised some pretty good kids, along with my father, John, who passed away many years ago, but also played a huge role in supporting me and my family through all of our moves, opening her home to us during the summer vacations, and your active service as a grandmother. Mom, from Jenny and I and the kids, thank you. Thanks.
Very good.
The most important highlight of my naval career, as Admiral Mewbourne mentioned, was when I crossed paths with a beautiful young naval intelligence officer named Jenny in Bahrain in 1997, and kept crossing paths with her in Hawaii and in Colorado by pure chance. Honestly, it was pure chance. And then she finally just gave in. It's not possible for me to convey with words or gifts how much you mean to me and how much you've done for our family. You've been an amazing wife and mother as I've dragged you around the world for the last 20 years. Thank you for putting up with the long hours, the deployments, the stress that I sometimes let escape from work, and the endless moves as I pursued this Navy career. You're the best decision I made in my life, and today is a good day for me to take in how lucky I am. Thanks, Jane. I also thanks to my 4 wonderful children, Benjamin, John, Julia, and Joe, for also putting up with the Navy's lifestyle, especially the time together that it cost us, pulling you away from schools that you just got to know and from friends that you just made. You can be proud of all the places you've been. I hope the experience leaves you a greater sense of appreciation for the world that we live in. But enough is enough, and you are transitioning today too, hopefully into a childhood that's just a little easier on you. You're the best kids a father could hope for, and I'm very proud of all of you. Finally, I want to thank the other grandma who's done so much to support us as a family. Jenny's mother, Joellen. Jelly, thanks for raising such a wonderful daughter and for being there so often when Jenny and I needed some time to ourselves. Okay. Guys, just carry it. Whoops. Hey guys, here's gifts for us, okay? You know, as I recognize my family here today, I'd suggest to the audience here that those of us in professional life, maybe most of all in the military, tend to measure ourselves by our success at work. Weeks fly by as we discharge our duties and crush one battleroom event after the next. Years seem to pass by just as quickly as we posture for that next screening board, compete for the next career-enhancing assignment, and sprint for that next promotion. Of course, sooner or later, we all miss that next wicket. It occurred to me several years ago that my fixation on advancement came perilously close to a desire to accelerate the passage of time. It's a strange wish for a father whose kids are growing up pretty fast already, and a mortal whose time on earth is fleeting. I'm also aware that my priorities over the last 20 years have often made me a better man at work than I have been at home. So while I'll still be pursuing a career after today in one form or another, I'm excited about this opportunity to be a better husband and a better father. Instead of playing a small part in national security, I'm excited today about the chance to play a bigger role in my family and in my community after just a few rounds of golf. So starting Monday, if that's okay. I'll close by saying again how thankful I am to have had the privilege of serving in the U.S. Navy for 25 years. I know I'll miss part of the lifestyle, the mission, the hardware, the insight on what's happening in the world, but my greatest apprehension is that I'm stepping away from one of this country's strongest and most respected institutions, and away from some of its greatest people, unified by shared principles of duty and integrity, and by a shared sense of purpose. I hope you are all thankful for that, and I hope your continued service brings security to our country and professional and personal fulfillment for yourselves. With that, Admiral Mewbourne, as we say in the office, pending your questions, that concludes my naval career. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations, Captain Stephenson. Captain Stephenson will now be presented with the United States flag. Flag presenters, post. I am the flag of the United States of America. Some call me Old Glory. I was born in 1777, and I have been passed from one generation of American to the next as I am being passed here today. I have flown over America's finest moments, and I have flown over her worst. I do not symbolize perfection, but I symbolize something just as rare and worthy of defense. A compact among millions who believe legitimate government exists only with the consent of the government, and who strive for a more perfect union based on truth, individual liberty, and equality under law. I speak for one sovereign state among many, and I rule only within America's borders. Yet I believe I represent principles that are universal. Centuries after their first expression, they are still revolutionary and still unrealized. I fly high and proud, partly because of my past, but mostly because of my future. I do not apologize for having the arrogance of a young idealist bound to save the world. I cherish the embrace of anyone, refugee, migrant, citizen, public servant, or warrior, who will save the world with me. I have been at the forefront of history, and therefore at the forefront of controversy. I am not invincible, but I am hardened to insults. I have been soiled, burned, torn, and trampled on the streets of countries whose independence I have helped secure. I have been soiled, burned, torn, and trampled on the streets of America itself. It hurts, but I am strong enough to endure anything that freedom of expression requires of me. There is a special place in my heart for patriots who have fought under me. I struggle to be worthy of their sacrifice. When I am folded and placed in the arms of a grieving parent or a spouse, I represent a human being's willingness to die for a cause greater than themselves. Their spirit is what makes our civilization, any civilization, possible. Look at my colors and you see their purity, their perseverance, their blood. I was born in an assertion of freedom over subjugation. Many times since then, enemies of freedom, even from within, have challenged me, and I have won. Enemies challenge me now, and I will win again if you believe in me. I am the flag of the United States of America. For more than 200 years, I have been passed from one generation to the next, as I am being passed to a new generation now. Believe in me. Flag presenters. Post.
Admiral Mewbourne. Request permission to go ashore.
We were going to miss you. Thanks for all that you've done for our great country, for the Navy. But, you know, I thought your words were very inspirational in the time you spend with your family. So, Godspeed. God bless.
Thanks, sir.
Post the side boys. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as we pipe Captain Stephenson ashore for the final time. Captain, United States Navy, retired, departing. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Please remain in place for the playing of the all-service medley, and then join us for receiving line to congratulate both Captains Fraser-Loria and the Stephenson family. Afterwards, we invite you to stay for cupcakes and cocktails courtesy of the honorees. Thank you for attending and have a pleasant day.